everybody stand for all. You're standing, but so just gonna. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
You know. It's always a treat to have our scouts come, so thank you for doing that. Our next item of business is the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the meetings for the minutes for the meeting on January 27th, 2026 as presented?
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bester and Mrs. Anderson. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not seeing any of the motion carries. We'll move on to general functions, and our first item is staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Groot.
Yeah, for the board first up, we have a special announcement.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all today. My name is Nolan Black, and I'm a senior at Micah Mountain High School. I apologize in advance. I'm a little coming off sickness. Back in 2019, a unique opportunity presented itself. Instead of the typical fifth grade performances, we were doing a Lion King musical. While my friends were excited and talking about who they were going to audition for, I was terrified. I'd always been an athlete and not a fine arts kid. I like to keep to myself, and I knew I wasn't the type to perform in musicals. Definitely not the type to give a speech to the district board. When my friends heard I had no intention of auditioning, they pushed and pushed until the night before auditions when I decided I would audition for SCAR. My parents were shocked, but my mom, who is a huge drama nerd in high school, helped me practice until I had a pretty solid audition. On audition day, I almost didn't go through with it. But the director, Mrs. Port, pulled me aside and told me I could do it. She fully believed in me. So I went up and I gave the best audition I could. Shortly after, I found out I was cast as SCAR. That show meant more to me than I ever expected. It made me more confident, and it helped me find my love for public speaking. It was so successful, it started a permanent tradition at Mesquite. To this day, students perform incredible productions at the Fox Theater, and every year, fifth graders get to experience theater and walk away with a lasting passion for it. Heading into middle school, I was excited to continue acting. Unfortunately, only one semester in, I was given an ultimatum. There wasn't enough time to be both an athlete and an actor. I chose athletics. After that, a lot happened, including a pandemic. In high school, I've played 4 different sports, earned 2 state titles in track, and pushed myself to a 5.0 GPA, all while my love for acting sat on a shelf collecting dust. The sad truth is, in high school, you are either a fine arts kid or an athlete, never both. Over the past couple years, I've been honored to serve on Mr. Hassey's principal advisory team, where we work to improve Micah in every way possible. Because of low attendance at fine arts, he asked us the same question nearly every meeting. How do we get people to attend fine arts events? It mattered deeply to the both of us, but we never seemed to have the right answer. That changed at the end of my junior year when my little brother was cast as Maui in Mesquite's production of Moana. I hadn't been back to Mesquite in years, and I was blown away by how far the program had come. During bows, I had 2 realizations. The first was that our question was flawed. It was never about how to get people to watch. It was about how to get more students involved. The second was that I wanted to get back on the stage. Over the summer, I made it my goal to break the stigma around drama and show that anyone could be part of it. That plan failed until Micah announced open auditions for the inaugural musical, The Little Mermaid. I was still down that my idea didn't work, so I wasn't planning to audition. Then one day, after cross-country practice, I got caught in a pretty bad monsoon, and I ran into my friend Ben Weinzinger, who was there to audition. I went in just to get out of the rain. After he finished, Mrs. Michelle asked if I was auditioning. After about 20 minutes of convincing from the both of them, I finally agreed just to get them to stop bothering me. I had a Rocky speech memorized because I listened to it before all my races, and I've listened to enough Green Day to survive the singing. Even though it didn't really make sense, Mrs. Michelle took a chance on me and cast me in a lead role. Ben and I rallied to get people to come to the show. The idea of 2 athletes with 4 combined state titles in a musical sounded crazy. but it worked. All 3 performances broke the record for the most attended fine arts events in Micah's history. After the show, many people, especially senior athletes, asked if we were doing another one. Doing 2 musicals in 1 year is unheard of, but we knew momentum mattered. After a lot of meetings and convincing, our administration gave Mrs. Michelle, Ben, and I the green light to do what my original plan had been all along, The Lion King. If it wasn't for my mom helping me audition, Mrs. Port inspiring me to go through with it, Mrs. Michelle taking a chance on me, Mr. Hassey supporting my vision, our welding and engineering departments helping with sets and props, and my friends putting themselves out there, this wouldn't be possible. 4 of them behind me, including myself, 6 original cast members from the 2019 show are returning, and we will even be wearing the same headpieces from the original show, courtesy of Mrs. Port. More importantly, in the show, there are golfers, football players, track athletes, photographers, welders, volleyball players, engineers, cross-country runners, soccer players, baseball players, and chefs, each with long lists of accolades in what they do. On February 20th, 21st, and 22nd at 7 p.m., we are all going to be actors. I invite you, the board members, and the entire Vail community to witness my dream come true. More importantly, I invite you to witness the start of a new standard at Micah Mountain. Not the school of athletes, not the school of fine arts kids, or the honor roll students, but the school where you can do it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black. You know, one of the traditions, Mr. Black, that Mrs. Port developed after your first time through is that every year she'd bring a group of her students, 5th grade students, to the board to give the board a invitation. So thank you for doing that. But one of the things that she instilled was that they burst through the back door and came running in here to do that. So I just challenged you to do that when I heard that you were coming with a song. So that said, thank you for your eloquence and for the invitation. So have a few other staff, student, and community recognitions this evening. First up for staff recognitions is Mr. Matt Donaldson, followed by Ms. Laura Ensley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caruth. President Pratt, members of the board. I would like to recognize Empire's Advanced Choir under the leadership of Aubrey Wilkes, who participated in the NAU Jazz Madrigal Festival last week. The choir earned a high superior rating for their jazz performance and a high excellent rating for the madrigal. We're extremely proud of the musicianship, character, and teamwork that they exemplified while performing and interacting with over 115 high school choirs from the Southwest area. I would also like to recognize science teacher Michelle Tozer for organizing Empire Science Fair this year. Congratulations to the following students who were our top score winners, who received a 90% or higher from the judges. In 3rd place was Christiana Montoya and Kayla Stokes. 2nd place, Dean Tassin. And 1st place, Bobby Briones and Karina Kadama. Bobby and Karina will be recognized at the Vail Pride Day event this weekend. We're very excited about that. And finally, following last week's Counselor Appreciation Week, I would like to give a shout out to Empire's amazing counseling team made up of Gail Morrison, Sabrina Wilson, Candace Alvarez, Paula Spencer, and Jed Nordmeyer. And with that, would also like to just give a shout out to the counselors across the district. We absolutely love the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Ms. Emsley, followed by Ms. Fields.
President Pratt, Mr. Caruth, members of the governing board, thank you for this opportunity to present a recognition. I would like to recognize Madeline Crespo, our HR coordinator, who truly exemplifies that title within our department. Over the past year, Madeline has successfully coordinated key initiatives across human resources, IT, and finance. In conjunction with Craig Luloff, she led the implementation of our new employee identification system with minimal disruption, streamlining internal processes, and enhancing employee security through randomized identification system. Madeline also spearheaded the long-awaited transition of the HR and payroll departments to the cloud-based version of School ERP Pro. This complex project, more than 2 years in development, was completed successfully through her persistence, technical expertise, and partnership with Craig. Madeline consistently demonstrates initiative, identifies opportunities for improvement, and follows every project through to completion. Her dedication and impact are evident in the operational improvements seen across our departments. I would also like to extend a sincere thank you to all of the district staff who generously donated their time and energy on Saturday to make our annual job fair at Micah Mountain a success. Our custodial, security, and IT teams went above and beyond to support the event, assisting with setup, breakdown, and ensuring everything ran smoothly throughout the day. The event was coordinated and led by our HR supervisor, Ali Armenta, whose leadership was instrumental to its success. Along with our students, principals, hiring teams, and HR staff, Ali and her team played a vital role in making the event possible. Together, their efforts resulted in more than 120 applicants being interviewed, and that's certified applicants, with many second-round interviews already scheduled in the days and weeks ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Fields, followed by Mr. Graff. Just as you prefer that, right?
Good evening, President Pratt, Superintendent Cruz, and members of the board. I'll make sure I stick to my script with that. So I would first like to recognize Mrs. Amy Hunter for our outstanding work at with Copper Ridge's upcoming art display for Vail Pride Day. She's new to CRE and new to just teaching art at all. And she has ensured that every student on our campus, even between absences, we're able to complete a meaningful piece and carefully prepared the work for Vail Pride Day, which highlights our student creativity and our school pride. So very much looking forward to you seeing that. Last month, we welcomed our first ever A+ school judges visit. While the outcome is still pending, it is essential to recognize the incredible collective effort that brought this moment to life. First, I would like to acknowledge the writers and editors of our A+ application, Darcy Atchley, Jessica Darby, Brittany Jacobs, Leah Matthews, Lori Spees, Carla Vasquez, and Rena Whitmer, who worked tirelessly to thoughtfully and authentically capture our school's story, values, and impact. Preparing for the visit was truly a team effort and a district team effort. We are deeply grateful to the district landscaping, custodial, maintenance staff, many of whom spent multiple days on our campus ensuring that our learning environment reflected the pride that we take in our school. I would also like to thank other principals and district staff for their support through the process. They dedicated time to our campus, shared materials, and provided guidance that helped us prepare thoughtfully for the visit, and even spent some time with our student tour guides to help them. They learned to walk backwards very well. The 2-day visit was a meaningful experience for our students, staff, and community. We are thankful to the Chavez family at Four Arrows Garden for beautifying our spaces, Madison Brown from the Caffeine Dealer for keeping our judges energized, and Abby Morris from Country and Company for providing nourishment through the visit. Regardless of the final outcome, the visit affirmed what we know and always hope to be true. The culture at Copper Ridge is strong, intentional, and deeply rooted in connection. It reflects nearly a decade of collective work towards our mission of being a safe, nurturing learning environment that promotes student growth and success. And it would be impossible to name all of the individuals throughout the district and our school who contributed to this process, because we would be here all night. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Mr. Graff, followed by Mr. Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, members of the board. Well, we're in the throes of Vail Pride Day and getting ready for it. So I'd like to take a moment to thank many of the teachers that are, working, with kids and helping to celebrate the kids with Vail Pride Day. First, Michelle Pangle, Sycamore Student Achievement Teacher. She is getting our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade academic Jeopardy teams ready to go. It's a big deal. We always want to, represent well. And then Tiffany Lay, our advanced math teacher. She's been, working, getting our math bowl contestants, ready. And those kids are ready. They sort of want this first place win. So we're excited for them. I think they're going to do well. And then Katie Savage, she is Sycamore's music teacher. not only is she preparing for Vail Pride Day, but she also has a third grade music performance she's getting ready for, a fourth grade music performance before we go on break. And then, with the band, the orchestra, and the choir getting ready for Vail Pride Day, we have 74 students that are participating in our choir this year, the largest, ever. And of course, sometimes Mr. Cruz asks us, what's our favorite part about Vail Pride Day? Well, mine is going through, Sycamore's art showcase done by Janet Chavez, used to be Roby. Boy, I'll tell you, when you walk through there, it is like you are walking through an actual art museum. It's just engaging, it's vibrant. She celebrates each child's, work of art. It just so looks so good. And she's not just proud of the work she does with the kids, she's truly proud of the kids. And that's what really makes it, so special. And then also, I feel like I say this every year, but we just wrapped up science fair. So all these parents in Corona Tucson are really happy right now. So they're really in a good place. So we had like over 200 science fair projects from our 4th and 5th grade students, not to mention a class project from each of our K-3 classes. And Tiffany Opella, our sums teacher at Sycamore, she started this process back in August, like working with the kids, working with the parents, supporting the teachers all the way, along. And, she just got done choosing the different projects that are going to be going on the SARSF. And usually our kids do pretty well. And that's because, we have someone that really cares about science. They care about, teaching science and getting kids excited about science. And then sort of lastly, with sort of that science in mind, we celebrated the Starbase 20-year celebration, back in earlier January. I want to thank you, Mr. Buster, for attending. Mr. Cruz, thank you for being there. But the Starbase team has really done a lot, not just for our Vail 5th grade students, but we think about it, there's over 30 5th grade classes that participate across the city of Tucson in Vail. That's almost 900 students that they see each year. And you talk about hands-on, minds-on. When we talk about like hands-on learning and STEM and getting kids excited about like what science looks like in the workforce, what it looks like in the military, our Starbase teachers just do an amazing job doing that. So first, I'd like to recognize the director of Starbase, Christine Pellizzeri. And so not only do you have to deal with the Starbase, and you also have to deal with the federal government, with the continuing resolutions and funding for that program. And she just is a fighter for the program. And then our teachers are amazing, Eileen Chan and Ashley Levinos. And then they're the classroom Starbase teachers. And then Melanie Stewart, she's a classroom Starbase teacher, but she also does a Starbase advanced program at Corona Foothills and at Alice Vale Middle School. So they I'm just really proud of playing a small part in that Starbase, program. Those are my recognitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graff. Mr. Hurley, followed by Mr. Wall.
President Pratt, Superintendent Cruz, members of the board. I want to first recognize Nicole Witt. I don't know exactly what Nicole Witt's job title is now, but now for the last 7 months, as I've been overseeing the incentive pay packet work that we've been doing, I have just been completely impressed in everything she does. I feel like Mr. Donaldson could have warned me that she doesn't do anything that's not 100%, nothing that's not 100%. Everything's 100%. And she does a really good job of pushing and turning over things and saying, what could this be? And how could this be better? And how could this be more efficient? So we're excited tonight to bring you some of that work on how we're going to make EEPs, I think, easier to submit and easier to rate, which is great. And then next meeting, some of the changes we're making to the leadership part and the home visit part. So I just want to acknowledge the great work she's been doing. It's really been good. The other part I wanted to acknowledge, Mrs. Fields kind of stole my thunder, but I wanted to acknowledge Principal Krista Fields and Principal Isaac Wacko. We're going for A+. Passing test scores is like you just have the kids pass the test. This is a huge endeavor. And she talked really well about the effort, but I want to talk about just the bravery it takes to be vulnerable and to invite your colleagues from around town or around the state to come in and walk through their school. And they walk through all of the school. Lots of our administrators serve as judges. I served as a judge this year. You meet with parents, you meet with kids, you meet with classified staff. So there's no stone left unturned, and they find out what's really, really going on. So I just
don't want to acknowledge them if and when they get the award. I want to acknowledge them for the bravery it took to go for the award, to take on the extra work, to rally the troops together and to do those things. I'm just extremely proud of them stretching and going forward and saying, I want to try to get this thing. So I want to acknowledge them. And then as always, Rena Whitwer just such a great job supporting them and helping write the ridiculous paper. How long was your paper? How long was the packet? Do you remember, Isaac? How long? 55, 60 page project is exactly what a principal needs to be doing because they've got nothing else to do with their time other than pull together a 60-page paper. So they oversee it, they do those things, but Rena helps with kind of the paper part of it. And so I really, really appreciate the work that Rena Whitwer does too. Thank you.
Well said, Curly. Thank you. Mr. Walco.
President Pratt, Superintendent Crew, members of the board, good evening. I'm honored and so grateful for the work of our entire teaching staff for assisting in the writing of our A+ application. Every single person participated. The ever-present guidance and oversight from Rena Whitwer, who helped us through our first go-around as A+ applicants under Pantano's current composition. Special thanks to both our custodial and facilities crews for ensuring that our campus looked truly amazing. Thank you, Sean O'Daniel and Matt Beam, for personally overseeing these efforts. I would like to recognize Rachel Mullins for putting in the long hours as my right hand, helping our A+ artifact presentation look truly amazing for our judges. I couldn't ask for better support throughout this whole process. I want to also highlight the incredible creativity of our teachers and the effort they put into making learning accessible and relevant to our students in the most impactful of ways. Pantano's math department, composed of Julie Hendricks, Laura Salwin, and Scott Hagan, who have created amazing hands-on activities that have included land orienteering, navigation skills that have led our students to test their skills in real life at Reed Park Zoo. Fortunately, none of them were lost. Everybody was proficient, and it was a great time. Our students were highly engaged. We'd also like to recognize Julie Hendricks for being the vision behind our students spending time on the U of A campus and experiencing the planetarium and surrounding exhibits while getting a glimpse of college life, giving our students insight into what the future could be like. Jacobo Carrasco continues to forge partnerships with our friends at Saguaro National Park, who have taken our students on multiple trips to explore some of the research being done at the park, most recently setting up game cameras for ongoing tracking and observing behavior of animal populations. We're eager to see what their efforts yield this upcoming spring. Special thanks to Olson Hancock for being the driving force behind a steady partnership with Karchner Caverns, where Pantano students participate in lint cleaning camps inside the caves. If you've never gone before, I highly recommend it. It's pretty amazing. I get to go as a guest each time. So also Olson Hancock for being the liaison with our partnership in Sycamore Elementary, where our students provide direct support to Sycamore's fourth graders. It's been an absolute joy to see our students glowing when they come back on campus, sharing their experiences of how much they enjoy mentoring these kids. The pictures are pretty heartwarming. Last but not least, I want to recognize Irene Cifuentes, who has diligently served as our student services coordinator for 2 decades. She's also our health aide and our volunteer coordinator. Irene's relentless efforts to ensure that all of our students are nurtured, cared for, and have their basic needs met. It hasn't gone unnoticed. Irene has been nominated and honored as Youth on Their Own's Liaison of the Year. We couldn't be more proud to see her recognized. And so she's done an amazing job. And one other note, I just want to talk about the organization for just a quick moment. Something unique about this district is in any organization where there's a hierarchy, we serve almost 15,000 students. It's hard for information to trickle up, and yet somehow we manage to keep things flat enough here where people listen. And I specifically want to point out Sarah Bates, Director of Community Programs, and Assistant Superintendent Ethan Hurley, where I have a young parenting student who dropped out, mother of 3, and close to being 21, and I can pick up the phone and say, hey, I need solutions for a kid. And within half an hour, the flexibility and the responsiveness of the people in this district is just the most amazing thing. It doesn't happen elsewhere. And I'm just, I'm so honored and grateful to be a part of it. So I wanted you guys to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I simply just want to add district-wide recognition to Miss Laura Emsley and her HR team for pulling together the district job fair this past weekend. It was Mrs. Emsley's words are true, that it's her team that largely pulls that off, but it wouldn't happen if it weren't for her leadership. It was exceptionally well done. One of the things she didn't mention is we had a visitor from a person from Arizona Department of Education that leads their recruitment and retention program. Came because he wanted to see what our job fair was all about, and he was incredibly impressed. Was a model for what should be happening across the state. Took lots of notes. Very complimentary of the work that Mrs. Emsley and her team pulled off, and to our benefit, and to execute our mission, the most important thing we can do is hire and continue to hire really high quality people. Get them here. So that team effort allows that to happen. So that's all we have for staff, student, community recognitions this evening.
Thank you. Really great stuff going on. Thank you. Our next item, actually 2 items, are call to the public and acknowledgement of public request to speak. At this time, I do not have any requests. Are there any members of the public here wishing to speak to the board tonight? Not seeing any, then we'll move on to correspondence and reports. Our first item is superintendent's report. Mr. Alfred.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Super simple and short and sweet. Vail Pride Day is Saturday. Volunteer luncheon is Thursday, and the staff appreciation is Friday. So we are in the deep thick of Vail Pride Day stuff. So, but as I've said to our staff and communicated to parents as well, it is the signature event that I think defines who we are through our mission statement of where education is a community effort. And so I don't take any of that for granted. We'll talk about that more at the next board meeting, I'm sure, but just calling attention to the fact that it's out this week and all the work that it takes to pull that off. That's all I have for superintendent's reports.
Thank you. Our next item are board reports. Are there board members wishing to make a report tonight? I feel like I always go this way. Mr. King, do you have one?
I have something.
After you want to be last? Okay. Mr. Buster?
Sure, I'll go. Let's see, short but sweet. On Friday, January 30th, had the opportunity to join Ms. Anderson and Superintendent Caruth and Ms. Mentone for an incredible district staff at Micah Mountains Vail Inclusion Preschool in the honor of a Vail Connections event to celebrate our teacher, Miss Amber Smith. And I truly love to see these amazing teachers light up as they see us with surprise and celebration, just for being really phenomenal. They're caring, they're impactful educators, and they really deserve this kind of recognition because they are just so exceptional to their students. Beyond that, on Friday, January 30th, I joined with Superintendent Caruth, educators at Acacia Middle School. These professionals really love their district, their school, and their students, their colleagues, and especially their principal. So I wanted to say that was very impressed. And I have to say that leadership really does make the difference. It defines the culture, and Principal Campos really leads his people with pride, passion, and highly spirited zeal for student success. Last but certainly not least, I have to say to one of my favorite people, just a moment of thanks to your incredible leadership as president, for our everything that you do for your family, for the support of your work, for the support and engagement of multiple entities throughout our community. And then you still lend yourself to time for keeping us all on track and focused and going in the right direction. And so I happen to know, a little bird told me that somebody's experiencing a birthday on February the 19th. So in honor of that, if the board would help me, Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Allison. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Thank you. There are strict laws regarding board reports and singing is.
Oh, I think they should be.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. We appreciate you. So, thank you. Ms. Tippett.
That's a good one. The last time I was at a reality check lunch at Acacia, we learned about a pet pig and the hilarity of the conversation that ensued for the entire hour and a half was fantastic. So that's kind of classic. I had an opportunity to myself attend a reality check lunch over at Edson Station this past week with Mr. Kruth and enjoyed the opportunity to go back to where all of my kids graduated 8th grade and one graduated kindergarten and reconnect with some of the folks on campus there and just feel completely, totally at home and also a mile apart all at the same time, but just wonderful, great conversation and some really great thoughtful questions by staff that prompted some really interesting conversation. So enjoyed everybody taking the brave step to step in and have lunch with your superintendent and a board member. But it really is a joyful opportunity and glad they take the time. So that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Tippett. Ms.
Chris wants to go last. I'll go.
Okay,
Next.
sounds good.
I just wanted, we just, throughout the district, just finished up parent teacher conferences and just thank you to all the staff, to teachers and families that showed up. I had parent teacher conferences for my current senior, and I was so sad. And it just, I am just so grateful to all of the teachers and just all the work they do every day. But it's just so nice to have those moments to sit down for just a few minutes, one-on-one and have those conversations. So.
Ms. Anderson, Mr. King, we are all waiting.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity. As some of you know, I'm a member of the National Society for the Sons of the American Revolution. One of the things that we're doing as part of the America 250 program is recognizing organizations that actually display patriotic articles, i.e. the flags of the United States and the local state. So that said, I actually have a certificate to present to the Vail Unified School District Calvin Baker Leadership Center on behalf of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution in recognition of exemplary patriotism in the display of the flag of the United States of America. So.
I think we should have a picture.
You doing that?
Yes, without a doubt.
In front of the flag. How about that?
Hey.
Yes.
Here goes it. Oh, you did it.
Do you want to get to you too? No. My name will be Mr.
Oh, wait, sure. Allergies or cold? Which one is?
Right, thank you, Mr. King. The only thing I wanted to mention, same as Ms. Anderson, just acknowledge the time and effort going into, that went into parent-teacher conferences this last week. I know how meaningful it is for parents to be able to connect with teachers, and I know how much time it requires for teachers. So just thank you for taking that time. If there's no other board reports, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There'll be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually. Do any board members wish to pull an item? Mr. Booth.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. It's recommended that the Vale School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
Move.
Tippett.
Second.
Mr. King. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Thank you. Our next item, we'll move on to old business, is the anonymous reporting system, an action item. Mr. Crew.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Mrs. Dabney.
Thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, the members of the board. At our last governing board meeting, we studied the Sandy Hook Promise Say Something Anonymous Reporting System. Since then, our district safety team has met a second time with the committee made up of parents, site council members, and school staff members to continue to explore the anonymous reporting system. Our committee was able to participate in a live drive of the system, followed by a comprehensive question and answer session with Christina Garza, representative. During the live drive, our committee members were able to see what happens when a tip comes in, how it's triaged or designated by live crisis counselors who are available 24/7, 365 days a year, and then how that tip is routed to schools for follow-up. Anonymous reporters can submit a tip via text, app, online, or through a call. The tip is triaged, and then the school or district team is notified and alerted for follow-up. In serious life safety situations, local law enforcement is also notified automatically and immediately. At our last board meeting, board members had questions regarding how information is kept anonymous within the system. And this question also came up at our committee. So Sandy Hook Promise uses a masking technology where IP addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, anything that's used to make the tip is essentially masked in the system. And the live crisis counselors nor school staff have access to that information at all. It's completely masked. So it really is an anonymous report. It was shared that if information was needed through a subpoena process or a court order, Sandy Hook Promise does have technology where they can essentially unmask that information and abide by a court order. But other than that, the tips that come in are 100% anonymous, which was good to hear because we weren't quite sure on that either. After the live demonstration and a chance to really further discuss the system, our committee voted on whether or not the district, if they would like the district to move forward with the Sandy Hook Promise anonymous reporting system. And the vote was a unanimous and enthusiastic yes. It was 100%, which I haven't seen before. It was pretty overwhelming, just the enthusiasm that the committee had. It's important to note a few things about Sandy Hook Promise. It is separate from the Sandy Hook Foundation. It's essentially a separate nonprofit organization that offers the system to school districts free of charge as a service. Sandy Hook Promise has been vetted through the Arizona Data Consortium, which we are a member of. And that vetting process ensures that the data is private, that safeguards are in place to protect data, and that data is not shared or sold in any way. And then the Arizona Department of Education is also in the process of partnering with Sandy Hook Promise with over 60 districts in various phases of interest in or adoption. We also met with another school district that is already using the system just to learn about their experience, how they liked it, would they recommend it, and they absolutely overwhelmingly do recommend the system. They haven't had any concerns with it. It's been an additional safety net for their school district, and they spoke very, very highly of it. So we know, and it's really important to note, that positive relationships are fundamentally the most profound and proactive component to school safety. And that having trusted adults in kids' lives where kids can share concerns will always be the most effective tool in our safety plan. It's what research says, and we've seen it in our own experiences time and time again. However, having another tool where students and community members can make a report in a live, real-time way just provides another layer to that safety plan. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Mrs. Dabney. I'm going to go ahead and make the recommendation that the Vale School District Governing Board approve the Say Something anonymous reporting system as presented.
Do I have such a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Comments or questions?
I personally, I lost my cousin in the actual Sandy Hook event. And ever since then, I hope, prayed, worked with different various agencies to make sure that they had the right tools at the right place at the right time so that those types of situations, those critical life safety incidents do not perpetuate themselves in the future. And I can't say enough of, we can't do enough to safeguard some of the most precious assets that we have across schools, across school districts, across communities. So this is a great step in the right direction. So thank you for doing all the legwork and making sure that this was the most effective, safest, private tool that will help lives in the future.
I just feel like this was a absolutely appropriate update to bring to our school safety system, and the opportunity to meet kids where they are with, texting a report rather than picking up and making a phone call, and really appreciate the district's diligence on researching data safety, because that's a really important responsibility that we have. Our families and our students need to know that we vetted. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to have a more effective system in place for our community and for our families. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Mr. King?
Thank you. I got a series of them here. And I appreciate the background with the differentiation between Sandy Hook Foundation and Sandy Hook Promise. Some of the questions that I have, and I talked with about some of these with Superintendent Caruth earlier, were there any perceived program?
The funding and what that looked like. And that was answered in a very transparent way, that Sandy Hook Promise is funded by private donors. It's pretty transparent. They post all of their financials on their websites, so anybody can access that and look at that. But it really is kind of a grassroots private donor funded system. And really the purpose of the Sandy Hook Promise is to prevent school tragedies and to provide a very effective tool to handle concerns and threats in real time.
Great. Thank you. Where there in this system, does the system itself promote or look at specific particular violence methods? Is it identified to just firearms, or is it just violence as an overarching umbrella?
Just so I'm clarifying the question, how is it reported, or?
So the question I have is this looking more at just violence perpetuated with a firearm, or is this violence perpetuated in any form or fashion?
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board, Mrs. Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Crew, Mr. King, members of the board. So a tip can be called in for any threat. Not just specific threats. It could be a student maybe witnessed another student being bullied after school, and that student's concerned for the student's well-being. That can be a tip. A tip could be a concern that a student shared that maybe they were considering self-harm. That can be a tip. There's a whole drop-down menu of items that a tipster can, physical aggression, a threat with a weapon, that's absolutely on the drop-down menu. But there's multiple other items that a student can report. Our go-to is always going to be the trusted adult, and we're always going to focus on that because that is the #1 preventative tool that we have. This is really meant to be, if something happens on the weekend, if something happens after school, if something happens where there's not a trusted adult that a student can go to, that there's an avenue. As you know, our current system lacks that. And to be totally transparent and honest, we had a situation this weekend where our current system was used, and luckily there were multiple people that were monitoring that, but it's not in live and it's not in real time. And so if someone wasn't checking that voicemail, if somebody wasn't on that, it could have had a different result. And that's what the system is meant to prevent.
Yeah, just to add to that, it is anything, and most of the overwhelming majority of calls that we get into our current line are about self-harm, issues around suicide and self-harm. And so they're prepared to do that. And we had a situation similar to that this weekend, and we were all on the job fair. And so there was a delay. There would be no delay. Unfortunately, there wasn't a delay because of the trusted adult. We were able to track other people were able to track who they needed to down. But this would be a safety net for that. One of the things we talked about in our leadership group regarding the Sandy tool is we have a safety net, and our job is to close make the holes in the safety net as small as possible. And this helps us do that. But what the fabric of the net are founded on relationships. And so we can't just lean into that tool with being the only thing that it really does revolve around all your relationships.
Thank you. Mr. King?
Yeah. And I appreciate the answers here. So does this program perpetuate a fear of violence through its use? And if we do approve this, can we get baseline data on what the perceived fear is of violent activities here within the district, and then compare that to 6 month, a year out after implementation of the program?
So just to clarify the question, do we get reports on what the tips are or what the requests are through that?
No. Like what how we do the student climate surveys, parents climate surveys and stuff like that. What is the perceived fear of violence, here within the school district from the students? And can we get a baseline of that if we approve this, and see whether or not this actually makes an impact on the feeling of safety here within the district for the students?
So I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, we do a student survey currently. That would be how we would measure the effectiveness of this. The tool itself is intended to measure. We won't receive any metrics back from the tool, I don't believe. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yeah, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, Mr. King, not on that specifically, but we can look at our baseline data on our student surveys now. There's very specific questions. I feel safe at school. I feel safe on my way to school. I have a trusted adult I can go to if I have a concern. And I'm going to be very interested to see how this impacts, if the board were to move forward, how this impacts that data. Because remember, there's a few areas that we know we can focus on. And the goal is that this provides another feeling of a safety factor for kids.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Pastor, you good?
Yes, I guess similar to Mr. King's question. So I want to say the feel-good method or metrics, as opposed to how quickly the response is, those types of metrics. So and again, I'm thinking like EMS, I'm thinking like a first responder. So by the time that we get that notification, we're always trying to limit that time period between the time they get that message and we get it, so that we can respond and act and do that thing we can do to mitigate the circumstance or the situation. Will we gain those metrics?
Thank you, President. Mrs. Dabney.
Yeah, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Buster, members of the board, absolutely. And this is one of the things that we're really excited about the system. So when a tip comes in, it's triaged. If it's a life safety tip, meaning that there's imminent threat of harm to oneself or to others, there's a protocol that takes place. So local law enforcement agencies are immediately notified. And then there's a district safety team that's designated that gets an immediate text. And then the school team also gets immediate text. In addition, the crisis counselors will continue to call the numbers listed that are the district contacts to ensure that that message has been received. In the meantime, law enforcement has already been contacted. So they're already doing what they need to do on their end. That's for a life safety event. For other tips that don't fall into that category, it typically is a school follow-up issue, and the crisis counselors know what things need to go to the school and what things need to be school and district. And so those school type things will get a text message to all of the school safety team members that are listed for that school for them to follow up with. And then in the system, that particular tip stays open until the principal, whoever else is designated, goes in and can close that tip. And what Sandy Hook Promise does, if they notice that there's a tip that's been left open for a certain number of time, then they will also call and follow up with that. So there's a lot of checks and balances in the system. We can also designate for those non-life safety, threats. We don't want, our principals getting texts in the middle of the night at, 3 a.m. So they know to make those contact during school hours. But that's all information that was set up through the initial implementation.
And can I ask in regards to repeated attempts or repeated situations, will we get or will you get those metrics as well?
Yes.
Thank you. Pat, Mrs. Dabney.
Yes, President Pratt, members of the board, Mr. Buster, yes, that we will. There's a dashboard, and the school team has access to the dashboard and the district team has access to the dashboard. So we would be followed up with, and then at any point, anybody that has access can log into that dashboard and see kind of the status of those tips.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I could just add, because I also think I understand where you're headed with this. Really, we have a really robust process in place now when we understand a student or a young person struggling, right? And especially with things like care solace in place, our counseling team, our ability to refer out to the community, and we've really shored that up. So once, and we have young people who have repeat concerns, right? What this does is it shortens that window when there is a crisis, whatever that is, and that allows us to help drive families to the supports that they need outside of school to help with that. It's not, this tool isn't designed to, it's not intended to be the help with that, so once the emergency is over, then all those services need to kick into play, right? I think what we've done is probably built this out from the ground up. I mean, we've built those services, and now we just need to close the holes on the safety net when there is a concern, and that's what the intent of doing this is.
Excellent. Good. Thank you.
Great conversation. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the table. So with that, if there's no other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any of the motion carries. I appreciate your work on this. Thank you. Our next item under old business is the 26-27 Vail Early College Calendar. Also next item, Mr. Chris.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Just as a reminder, we bring the calendars for approval together, with the exception of the Vail Early College calendar, because we can't do that when the community college releases their calendar, and they have done so. And because our students who participate in that program follow the Pima Community College calendar. That is what is listed on is the calendar that they will follow and what is in front of you for approval tonight. So happy to answer any additional questions, but we've done this a time or two. So with that, I'll just go ahead and make the recommendation. Vail School District Governing Board approve the 26-27 Vail Early College student calendar as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar.
Seconded.
Mr. King and Mr. Bester, comments or questions?
Mr. King is back. No comments or questions.
Sounds good. I know we studied this previously. So if there's no comments or questions, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. We'll move on to new business. Our first item is 26-27 returning teacher contracts, a study item. Mr. Group.
Thank you, President Pratt. Mrs. Emsley.
Thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Kruth, members of the governing board. Again, appreciate your time today, allowing us to present to you about our 26-27 returning teacher contracts. Administration would like to recommend to issue returning teacher contracts on March 16th, 2026 for the 26-27 school year. According to Arizona State statute, eligible returning certified teachers, site-based instructional staff, and related service providers have 15 business days to accept or reject the employment contract, with the exception of school psychologists who have 30 days to accept. The new contracts will be issued at the 25-26 daily rate of pay if approved by the governing board. Administration will make a recommendation at a future board meeting if additional funds become available for the consideration of additional cost of living adjustment or an increase in salary. If an additional increase is approved, administration will issue those amended contracts at that time. Contracts will be issued to eligible returning teachers, site-based instructional support staff, and related service providers. At this point in time, we don't have a recommendation because it's a study item, but I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Mr. King? Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not allowed to talk.
Apparently not. Question I did have, and I superintendent agree with the service. We can get a copy of boilerplate, so we can see the language actually.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Mr. King, President Pratt. Yes, absolutely. We can definitely provide you with a copy of the contract. Yes.
Great question. I've had teachers like ask me specific things about their contracts, and I was like, listen, I've actually never seen them. So I think that's a great idea.
Definitely.
Any other comments or questions? No. No. Okay. Thank you. This is a study item, so I imagine we'll see you soon.
Next week. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Our next item is the 26-27 and education enrichment plan guidelines. Also a study item, Mr. Group.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board, Mr. Hurley.
I will pause and let them sneak out. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
It was great to see you guys. Thank you. Okay. President Pratt, Superintendent Kruth, members of the board. Now, each year, administration presents updates and revisions to the incentive pay packet to the board for consideration. And this year's recommended revisions right now are just to the EEP packet is what we're going to focus on. They're here for your study. We'll be bringing changes to home visits and the leadership portion at our later meeting. And I'll give a spoiler alert. One of the things that we're doing, especially for those of you that have been raters before, is proposing creating a leadership position that is an EEP support person that helps people write their EEPs, helps principals coach people through EEPs, and ensures that a certain level of quality is met before the submit button is done. So we're excited to share that with you. But we pulled together a committee of teachers, principals, district office folks, and had several meetings to really look over the whole packet and to come up with our recommendations. That committee came up with the guiding values of accountability and community connections, being as equitable as possible, focusing on being student-centered and having transparency. And so those recommendations were then also brought to the entire principal group so that they could have their input. And really key updates that we made were really through that guiding values lens. We really wanted to make sure that this felt as equitable, as fair, as transparent, a process as possible. We know that no matter what happens, you make rules and then people figure out, okay, those are the rules. How do I play the game by the new rules? And so we're trying to make it as clear and transparent as possible while still getting as much benefits to students as we can. So you'll see in there some of the things that we made changes to is actually a lot of the EEPs we determined were more appropriately placed in the leadership program. Things that are an expectation. If you should have a yearbook, if you should have an honor society, if you should have a link crew, if you should have one, it is not an EEP. It's a leadership packet incentive that someone should be in charge of the yearbook and be in charge of the honor societies and those things. So several EEPs at all of the schools were moved into that bucket. The other thing that we brought in here that is new is allowing for June hours. I keep seeing pictures come up of the CTE folks. CTE nationals every year are in the summer. And so every year, Christy Parks volunteers her time to take kids to another city in some other state because she can't have EEP hours in the summer, or basketball coaches or whatever it is. And so we wanted to make it so that principals could work with their teachers and approve hours ahead of time and say, these are hours that we will allow you to do, knowing that the world does not stop in the summer. The other one, and I know I've talked to a couple of you about this, but is the duplicate plan. Do two people put the exact same plan in, or is it a co-plan? So really being clear on that and saying that there should be no duplicate plans. If you're doing it together, then it should be done together. Adding a little bit more points to acknowledge it is better when there's two adults in the room walking kids through whatever they're walking through, but that it's not really necessary intended to be two separate plans for two adults who are doing the exact same thing. So those are the kind of the gist of it. You can read through the whole thing if you want to, but those were really the main changes that we had. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, it's a study item. We'll be bringing it back for action for this meeting.
Thank you. Comments or questions, Mr. Bester?
Love EEP. The problem with the process was the duplicates, and as you iterated earlier, and I'm just glad that not just as a school district, but you've taken a lead in there and take it to the next level. That we're always striving to do better. We're always striving to be more efficient and more effective. So huge appreciation to you for taking on this role and making it better each and every year.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Tippett?
Can we have a word limit in the application?
Yes.
Like every single question has a word limit?
I second your motion. We're going to vote on it right now.
Please.
President Pratt, Mr. Creek, members of the boards, those are the things that we are considering in the logistics part. It is also one of the things that we will be doing. So one of the reasons we're bringing this to you now is we want to train the EEP support people on the EEP rules. And so there should be a human being between the submission and the reading that says, hey, we don't need 5,000 characters to talk about whatever the thing is. So yes, that will absolutely be less dense reading next year.
Because ChatGPT will give you all the words. And you can just tell it,
Yep.
I only need 300.
Yeah, it works really
well. And I thoroughly encourage them to use ChatGPT in there as a tool. I use it all the time. Super helpful. Word limits.
That's how you really feel.
Yes.
I'm sensing some PTSD, a few of the board members, yes. Great suggestion, Ms. Tippett. Any other comments or questions, Ms. Anderson?
Okay, I am so thrilled that like teachers during the summer, because there is a lot of things that happen then. Anyway, I love that. Okay, that's it.
So you're not off the hook quite yet because I don't have cut yet.
Oh.
Questions?
But I'm President Pratt, members of the board, I was screwed to respond to Ms. Anderson directly. I shared with the group. Principal Parks, Principal Hassey, and myself took football kids every single summer of our lives to San Diego, just because that's what we should have done. And we didn't count those hours, we didn't submit those hours, and it was not a fun vacation, taking 40 football boys to San Diego, but it's the right thing to do. So I'm really glad that people will be appropriately compensated for the great opportunities, because EEPs are so important and they provide so many great opportunities for kids. And not everyone is able or willing to volunteer their time, and they should be compensated if they're doing great things for our kids.
Thank you.
Agree with you wholeheartedly. I loved reading through this, just so you know, like absolutely loved it. I am assuming that Ms. Witt had a lot to do with this document, and I will be emailing her to tell her great job. I will give it 100% on this.
And yes.
Yes, go smiley face, all the things. So a few of the things that I really loved, just to tell you, I love that they can include in their EP time to write the EP. Which in my opinion, if you're gonna include that in your EP, let's do a good quality job and not put 19 pages for one section. So I love that. I love that certain clubs are pulled out. I think that, like you said, like if you're at a school and you know you need certain things. So I'm assuming that it'll be also great for principals as well on planning and things like that. I also love the June hours. I think that's great. Anyway, I do have a couple questions. So when I was reading in there, I wanted to make sure I was understanding the group plans. I thought it said, and I don't have it pulled up right this second, the group plans are split however the participants would like. Do you know, Mr. Curley?
Yeah, Mr. Crude, members of the board. We did not want to tell group members that they had to be a 50-50 split. And so if two people are on a group project and one of the group members does most of the work and we agree, hey, you did most of the work, you should get 70% of the money and I'll be happy to take 30% because I'm the helper.
Okay.
Then we just thought that was fair for both parties. As long as both parties agree, this is how we want to split the money. You're kind of the lead person, I'm the support person. They can do that, or they can say, we're 50-50, we're splitting the whole thing. We just wanted them to have the flexibility to let us know how their program was running instead of saying, well, you submit 400 hours and I'll submit 200 hours. That way they'll know you're doing twice as much. No, just tell us who's going to.
Got it. I love that. Okay, thank you. And then I saw on things that I think there was like a section. I love, this is so clear, by the way. And I love that it just feels so equitable across the district. I love that it says the following are not eligible. And so, and it's not to say that you can't do it in any other way or that it isn't paid in any other way, but this is not an EEP plan, but it says hours for overnight trips, including local, domestic, and international trips. I know that we've had a lot of those in EEPs. Do you want to talk about that a little bit just to know?
Yes.
So we know, Mr. Bruce?
President Pratt, members of the board, sorry. Super. We are going to create a compensation structure for people who take students overnight. That is an overnight fee, but there was inconsistency and confusion in how a person should be applying those hours. If it's overnight, was I with them 24 hours? Do I count all 24 hours? Do I count just the hours I was doing things with? So we still want you to have the EEP for the club. And then there should be in the next packet. And if we spent 3 nights, then it's X times 3. That's how much additional money I get for a stipend for the overnight packet.
Okay. So then just to clarify, they're not going to write an EEP for the trip, or they do write it for the trip, just they get the overnight.
They could write an EEP for the club if they still have the club.
Okay.
But if it was just a trip or just going to Phoenix, spend an overnight thing, you don't have to do an EEP.
Got it. That is amazing. I love that. Okay. And then one other clarification. So one day, like single day or night events are not EEPs anymore. I saw, I think it had to be like 6 weeks or 9 weeks long. I feel like there was a few of those, maybe just in a similar fashion, just talk about that, like what that looks like, Mr. Britt.
President Pratt, Mr. Group, members of the board. There are lots of things that fall in the realm of things that principals need to have done on their campus. Love of Reading Week, Red Ribbon Week. Those aren't EEP club activities, but they're things that need to get done. Donuts with Grandpa. It's a thing. It takes work. Someone should do it, but it's almost more work to write the EEP than it is to put the donuts with Grandpa. So what we would like to have is a stipend structure that the principals can say, here's some money. Can you be the Love of Reading Week person? You don't have to do an EEP. We all know what Love of Reading Week is. We all know what Red Ribbon Week is. EEP should be a long relationship building, connection with the kids, extended over time. If it's a project that has to get done, a quick thing, we wanted to just take that out of the EEP world and put it into the stipend.
Okay. What I love, what I'm hearing is that we're not taking away compensation for teachers. So that, you know, what I loved about EEPs is it gives teachers, if they want to do something extra, we're compensating them for that. What I'm hearing is that we're not reducing that or taking any of that away. But we're really like going back to what the core value is of the EEPs. Like you said, just a long-term building relationships and spending time together. I love that. So I am so excited just about where this is going. to be able to move things more in some things in stipends, some things in leadership roles, and then in keeping our EPs as well. I also think, as we're talking about this, I am just so excited to rate this year. I think this will be so streamlined, I think it's really going to be great. So anyways, thank you, really 1,000 times. Thank you.
Welcome. President Pratt, members of the board, I will tell you the same thing. I will tell Nicole, it's going to be the best it's ever won and it's ever been, and it probably still won't be good enough for some of us, but we're going to make it better the next year, and we're going to make it. Nicole being primarily the one, but in seriousness, it's so important that you guys are raters and that you guys see those things, and we think that's such a huge process, and I appreciate the feedback that was given in the past, because I think we got to a tipping point where it was not sustainable and it wasn't something that we were willing to get rid of, so we had to refine it and make it doable.
And I'd add to your point about not taking compensation away from teachers. And we went in with that as a mindset too, is like, hey, how are we going to do this? This is a way to honor people who are stepping forward doing extra things. I will say, as in full transparency, Mr. Hurley says, it's going to be better. But when we take things like how everybody does yearbook, and we assign a amount to that, and we agreed about amount, some people are getting less. And some people are going to get more. So it's not, we may hear, I'm not getting as much for that as I was before, because we're not going to hear from the people who are like, I just had a whole lot more for that thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just being honest about, I want to be transparent about that, but that's also being fair and equitable with services and what that looks like. So I'm just wanting to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Mr.
If I could, President Pratt, Mr. Superintendent Kruth brings up a really important point. When we talked about being equitable and having transparency, EEPs and the entire leadership packet is a way to value teachers and to provide teachers with incentives. And if we're not careful and we find out that the teacher down the street who's doing the exact same thing is valued 3 times as much as you are, that doesn't feel valuing. That feels devaluing to me, even though I did get some money. So the transparency of this is what everybody gets when they do a yearbook in elementary school, and it's not a who writes a better EEP competition. It's this is what a yearbook is worth. This is the expectations of the National Honor Society, and everyone that does one in the junior high school, middle schools gets this fund. Everyone that does it in high schools gets these. So I think there will be some, but hoping to counterbalance that with transparency and clarity and letting people know like this is what it is.
Thank you. I also love having an EEP. I forgot what you call it, not a coordinator, but something like that at each site. I love that. Mr. Buster.
Just as a point of information in regards to, you mentioned earlier, there was a resource that was called Leadership something. And what was the name of that?
Leadership.
So in the President Pratt, Superintendent Kruth, members of the board, there in the incentive pay packet, there are 3 buckets. There is the EEP bucket, there is the home visit bucket, and then there is the leadership packet. And the leadership is things we think of: instructional team leaders, and 504 coordinators, PBIS teams. It's the things that are really more adult focused, adult centered, or they are opportunities to be leaders. You are an instructional team leader. You are leading the EEP things. And so trying to find out, is this really meet the definition of an EEP, or should it be you're being a leader now because you're on the core team and you're on the student data team and you're on those things. So it didn't meet the EEP definition, but it still is valuable and still is important. And so we're going to slide lots of things into the leadership packet.
Thank you for the clarification.
I'm excited to have to talk about the other 2 as well. So, all right. Did you have another? No. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, we will move on. It's just study item. Our next item is the ASBA policy advisories, 866 to 875, also a study item.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. As we have been chunking through the ASBA's policy revisions, these are also the same vein of that. They are language cleanup things, reorganization, polishing the language, collapsing some policies. This happens to be around Section C, General School Administration. So that's in front of you as a study item. I will just note one thing, because I think it's called out and highlighted on there. It has to do with policy CBI, which is the evaluation of the superintendent. And it's highlighted, you can choose either one exhibit or the other. The board takes action on the policy itself, not on the exhibits, and we have the ability to add whatever exhibit we want. So we just want to call that out. If you're looking through that and wondering which direction we take, my suggestion would be that we just leave unless you want otherwise, that the evaluation tool that we currently have would become the exhibit. Relative to this, but what would be adopted would be the language changes around that policy, which again are not substantive, they're just more clear pieces. So study item, we'll bring the report back to you for action at the next meeting. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any comments or questions? Ms. Tippett?
I think that it makes sense to just use the tool that we've been using for the last several years, so I'm good with that.
Like it. Any other comments? No? Okay. If there's no other comments, this is a study item, so we will bring it back likely the following meeting. At this time, I will accept a motion for an adjournment at 8:18. Ms. Tippett is yawning, so it's time to go.
You have a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. The second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Tippett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.